What is going on? You are listening to TAGSPodcast, aka Talk About Gay Sex Podcast, celebrating 6 years of podcasting. I'm your host, Stevie, and this is episode 492. Holding down the fort with me today is co-host Kodi Maurice Doggette. The hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful. Still in Kansas, but I'll be back in New York City very, very soon. And I'm so excited that it's just the two of us. But I do miss our other co-hosts. But yeah, it's always fun to chit chat with you.
Absolutely. You know, it's summertime and a lot of people are on holiday, and it's those final few weeks in summertime where the city seems a little slower. I kind of like these weeks though, Kodi,
Me
because
too.
yeah, they're kind of sometimes my favorite time before we get, even though I'm not in school, but back to school begins. And although we've got a lot coming up this fall,
Oh, yeah.
including, since it's just you and I, our upcoming Vacaya Resort 2023 vacation in Puerto Vallarta. And I'm talking about October 29th through November 5th.
So excited.
So excited. We want some of you to join us. And you know, right now you can get up to $200 off when you book. Simply go to the link on our website, go to tagspodcast.com and look for Vacaya 2023 Mexico Resort in PV. Click on that link, and at checkout, simply use our code TAGS, TAGS. And like I said, you'll get up to $200 off. And it falls within Halloween, so we're getting our costumes geared up for it.
Oh, yes.
It's a short ride into town of Puerto Vallarta where you can visit so many amazing places, plus going out. And more importantly, there will be a red light district on property, which I cannot wait. It's a boat in the middle of the water, and we are going to have some fun under the moonlight, and I cannot wait for that.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait, Steve. We're going to have an amazing time. We're going to meet so many fun people, and it's just going to be a great, great time. I anticipate having the best time ever.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get into some hot topics. Plus, we have some advice to give. And people are still celebrating Pride around the world, including in, Bel Ami just put this whole film together because Prague Pride just occurred this past weekend. I'm talking about August 12th through the 13th. They wrote on their website, Pride is more than a slogan or a rainbow flag on some merchandise for sale. And this year at Bel Ami, we wanted to mark Prague Pride with a retrospective to commemorate the beautiful souls who lost their lives to tragic anti-gay violence. And when you go through this video, it's all of their beautiful models with black t-shirts on. They pause in front of the camera. I know you saw it, Kodi, with various names, all of people that have lost their lives from around the world due to anti-gay violence. People like Edwin Chiloba from Kenya, who was a gay activist and a fashion designer, was murdered and his body was found stuffed inside a metal box. Other people like Yelena Grigorieva from Russia, who was a LGBTQ plus and human rights activist. She actively campaigned for the rights of LGBTQ plus people and social justice in Russia, and tragically was found murdered in 2019 in St. Petersburg. Other people, Tyrone Unsworth from Australia, a teenager who became a victim of bullying due to his sexual orientation. Tragically, he took his own life in 2016. Kenneth Zauler was a librarian and teacher from Toronto who was the victim of homophobic hate crimes when he was beaten to death by 5 youths in Toronto's High Park.
Wow.
There's more people from all around the world, including Matthew Shepard from America, who, was brutally attacked back in 1998, left tied to a fence in Wyoming because of his sexual orientation. And so this is such a powerful video. I will post this one on TAGSPodcast because I think it's worth a viewing. It's about a minute long. I know you saw it, Kodi. What did you think?
I saw it.
And how they chose to celebrate a solemn way to celebrate Pride, but to honor these souls.
I loved it. I thought Bel Ami did a fantastic job putting it together because Pride is not only a joyful time, but it's also time to reflect on where we have been and where we're going and just take really into account those that have come before us and that we are going in the right direction, of course, but a lot of places are not in the same situation that we are here. And just making sure that everybody knows that being of self acceptance and being who you are is not for a certain group of people, it's for everybody. So I think I'm so proud of them. When you mix hot guys and advocacy, I think that that's a wonderful thing. So I'm really, really happy about this, and it really made me it warmed my heart to see them put this out there.
Me as well. Well stated. Moving on, there is a new movie on Prime right now that a friend of mine told me to watch, but it's gaining a lot of viewership called Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Oh.
It looks really cute. Red, White, and Royal Blues has some steamy sex scenes between Prince Henry and the first son of the United States. So get the premise there. And they
Oh.
pitted themselves against each other. They're both adorable. And ultimately, as you can imagine, they fall in love. Well, that's not why it's causing a lot of shocks with a lot of people. Straight people have been shocked to learn that gays can have missionary sex after seeing the movie Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Wait,
It's
what?
yeah, it also shows that gay men can have sex just like them. When Alex Claremont Diaz and Prince Henry get ready for the climax of their New Year's Eve rendezvous, Claremont Diaz shoves his Royal Highness onto the bed and drapes over his perfectly toned body, they wrote on this article I found. The camera
Uh-huh.
never moves, showing the two hunky protagonists lock eyes at the moment of insertion. And according to this viewer, it's a brilliant tactic that highlights the emotional power of sexual intercourse. There are many positions that work for anal sex, but missionary might be the most intimate.
Hmm.
Well, one viewer was actually a woman said, "Can guys do missionary? Can gay guys do missionary?" And she seemed fine with it if they can, but she was seriously questioning whether that can actually happen. And there they wrote the director wrote there was no conversation whatsoever after the R-rated came out, but in addition to being important, the sex scene is apparently pretty hot.
Yeah.
Perhaps the most scintillating part of the whole experience comes when Alex's key necklace is dangling over Harry, signifying how close the two men are getting. So it did spark up on Twitter a whole thing about, yes, men can have missionary sex, and it can be actually very intimate at times. We often see it in film today or TV shows, Cody,
Hmm.
of you know, on all fours or from behind, but you don't, I think, see a lot of missionary. But we're going to talk about this in another article that came up, another hot topic. But
Okay.
what do you think about the power of missionary sex? Is it one of your favorite positions? And then I have a story. Action.
Yes. So missionary is not my favorite. My favorite is probably doggy style. But missionary is maybe second or third, probably fourth. On the list. I can think of a couple more. I like to have a guy ride me too, so that's number two. But missionary is definitely super intimate, and I can see why the producer of the show would like to have that in there because I think that as far as missionary is concerned, it shows like a real connection between two people. And to kind of address what the why people are so up in arms about gay men having missionary sex, if people just educated themselves on what gay men can actually do and the sex that they can have, then maybe we wouldn't have all this hubbub about what's going on, and maybe they wouldn't be up in arms about gay sex out there. Maybe if they knew a little bit more. Educate yourself, guys.
I love it. Definitely educate yourself. Yeah, I 100% agree on that. Good assessment. For me, I like missionary,
Mm-hmm.
but it depends on the person. So recently, there's a guy that I've talked about, and I see him at the bar that I go to at the Eagle, and he came over twice this week after the Eagle, and he's come over so many times. We're trying to go
Ooh.
on a proper date hiking. I really like this guy, and we make out a lot. I actually topped him recently, and it was really intimate, but because I really like him, it was that much more intense. And so
Mm.
I think showing that in that show can show a missionary style that tends to be very intimate, partly because of
Mm-hmm.
the positioning, the vulnerability of the bottom, the looking in the eyes. I think all can make a very steamy yet intense, dare I say, at times, romantic sexual encounter. Now, when I've been with a guy where I just kind of want to animalistic sex, and I had
Yeah.
that on Sunday morning, that that for me is climbing on top of the guy and getting pounded that way and almost grabbing his shoulders and letting him do some thrusting, but also
Mm-hmm.
doing my own thrusting at the same time. I find that intense and animalistic sex, and like you're just grabbing life by its beauty
Oh
at that
yeah.
hot intense moment. So I like all of it. It's funny though, I didn't
Yeah.
mention the one is your favorite on all four. I mean, yes, of course I like that. It's just not top on the list. But
Oh,
I do
okay.
like a
All right.
retrospective though. I have a definitely everything can be played out. I don't exclude anything. It's just, we have our favorites.
We definitely have our favorites. But the thing is, like, I like to be able to put it all the way in. And I find like with missionary, you don't really you get like 2/3 of the dick in, but, or 4/5. But you don't, you can't always go balls deep when you do it missionary. So yeah, but you can kiss. So that's a plus.
That's true. Absolutely. Although you could have somebody turn back around you and kiss them as you're railing them from behind on all
Oh,
fours.
wow.
So there's a workaround with all of this.
Okay. All right.
Moving on. A man met up with a guy on Grindr and wondered if the behavior was normal after the guy he chatted with on Grindr turned up at his work uninvited. Well,
Mm,
this was a recent Reddit thread that was posted, and a guy had been chatting to a guy on Grindr, which sounded very normal at first. He said in the chat, "I'm working overnight shifts," he began. "I was texting with a really nice guy tonight and mentioned I'm at work. He just came to the gas station where I work unannounced past 4 a.m. He kept trying to urge me to meet him in the bathroom at my job, and now I'm
ooh.
worried because I don't know this man and he is showing up at work trying to have sex like some maniac. I don't know if he's crazy or just people from Grindr are crazy. Quote, this is a big turnoff for me because I want to take things slow. Maybe see a movie and kiss first." Okay, is it possible to meet a guy for that on Grindr?
Mm,
Well, this got a lot of people chiming in with most, as you can imagine, that no, this is not normal behavior. A lot of people questioned the fact that how did he even know where you work? Did you
hmm.
tell him? And he likens it to GPS, and in the town that they're at, it showed where he was. He had
Yeah.
mentioned he was working an all-nighter shift, and the guy, according to the one who wrote all this, put did his deduction and kind of figured it out on his
Mm,
own. Kind of the problem with GPS at times, I think,
hmm.
and a location. So, would this freak you out, Cody, if somebody just showed up at your work?
Yeah, unless they were bringing me food. But
Yeah.
but this actually did happen to me. I was maybe 18 and I was working at Sam Goody in Virginia, in Hampton,
Ooh.
Virginia, and somebody must have seen me in the store and they would call randomly just to say my on my name tag I had Jeff Stryker, so I've been a
Oh,
freak since 18.
love one of my favorite all-time porn stars of the
Boop, boop.
90s, 80s, 90s.
Oh yeah. So I had Jeff Stryker and they would ask for Jeff and then I would get on the phone and they would just say disgusting things to me. And so I have been stalked before at work. It is not fun. It's very scary. And I would have somebody walk me out to the car. So I get it. And this is not normal behavior. You don't have to accept this. You should probably see what you can do as far as what legal recourse you can take. But definitely stay away from this man.
Yeah, another example of be careful, be aware that maybe not a good idea always to be on Grindr at your place of employment, even if, well, I'm just saying with location services, location GPS on, if
Yeah.
you're in a smaller town, if you're in New York
Yes,
City,
that's
well,
true.
also if you were in New York City and you happen to say you're at a gas station, you would probably figure it out too, because there's not that many gas stations, but it is New York City. So this sounded like a smaller town. I
Yeah.
had the same thing grow when I worked an overnight graveyard shift at a radio station, and I started to see this guy. I told this story a couple years ago. Just to tell the brief version of it, I soon realized early on he was one of the first people I had dated post coming out. And I noticed some strange behavior early on. For example, I think I picked him up in my pickup truck at his apartment complex in San Francisco, and he
Wait, can
came
I pause you
down
for
with
2 seconds?
what's that?
Did you have a pickup truck?
What's that?
You had a pickup truck?
I had a pickup truck, yes.
Oh my goodness.
My
I
dad
can't
gave it
believe
to
that.
me.
That's
Yeah.
so cute. Sorry, I didn't mean to pause your story. Go
No,
ahead.
not at
Continue.
all. And so he came downstairs and got in the truck holding this little, like a Dixie cup almost, and it had wine in it. Like, I'm like, are you
Oh,
serious? Like, we were going to dinner. Like, you couldn't wait until we got to the restaurant for a glass of wine. It just seemed odd. And the behavior continued post that one example. Well, he ended up, after I broke it off with him, calling the radio station, the sales department, and saying that I was sleeping around with everybody at the UC Berkeley campus, that I was
wow.
doing things while I was on duty. And fortunately, my program director could read between the lines, brought me into his office, but believed that this was somebody, crazy. But sadly, he was
Unhinged. Yeah.
contacting the sales department, which is the financial gain of the radio station. On the other hand, I've gone to a person's place of work. I've told this story before, gone to a doorman here in New York City in the middle of the night, met on Sniffies, but it wasn't uninvited, it was invited. And it was a
Yes.
smaller
That's the
building, the
difference.
lights were out, and I literally came in. He was behind the desk, and I got on my knees and started sucking him off until he came. It was really hot. But again, invited to this man's place of employment. I think it's a story of with today that, or even early years, like you just told your story, my story, that you got to be extra careful.
Yeah, if I was invited, I would definitely go. Or if I had the type of job where I could invite somebody over to have sex, I might invite somebody to have sex. But if you go and you're not invited, unless you are doing something sweet like a gesture, like bringing flowers or something of that nature, I would not recommend it. It just comes across as really creepy.
Yes, exactly. In this day and age, sure, send a lovely text, send a sexy text, but do not get in the way of someone's work. And, we both know this. People are different in their work environment. A lot of people are very private and don't want
Yeah,
to merge those worlds. And not for nothing, you could get somebody fired. So it's
that's
like,
true.
you know, but on the other hand, on the recipient end, I think you just got to we just keep talking about stories of things happening to people, and you got to be extra diligent and, look out for yourself.
That's right. That's right. Make sure you protect yourself. And consent is key, everybody. We keep saying it, but consent is key.
Well, we were talking about missionary sex recently and how that can actually be very intimate. And a recent thread on another Reddit came through recently where a lot of guys are looking for an emotional connection with guys in their beds, and they're not necessarily looking for penetrative sex. So this was a whole topic that had several people chatting about it. Quote, no matter how hot the guy is, if you haven't established the proper connection beforehand, then it is very dull and forgetful. The looks fade fast. Some of the hottest guys I've been with have been the most meh encounters. Sex in a long-term relationship is way better than casual sex. Quote, gay men won't admit it, but despite sometimes sleeping with 10 guys a week, most of us are still not sexually satisfied. Slow
Wow.
cuddling sex with an average looking monogamous partner is way better than being fucked rough by a muscle masculine top who's a 10. Also, cruising in public spaces should just remain in porn. Don't do it in real life. Well, there's a lot of other comments on this, but I go to a place that has cruising and I actually enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
I probably don't think a lot about it. If I do certain things, it doesn't necessarily always, it's that's a hot moment and it is what it is. I think on the other hand, I've had hot sex recently with a hot hookup that came over, and it was really steamy hot sex. But I later had sex with the guy that I've been meeting up with, like I talked earlier tonight about that. We have developed this connection, and
Hmm.
I know what he does for work. I know what he likes to do on his pastime. I know what type of music he likes. We've developed this thing when we see each other in the bar where we are very connected, joined by the hip, we make out, and the sex is very passionate. And I think about it a lot more, and I want to have more of that kind of sex. But I think all sex can be like great if there's
Hmm.
people out there that think that gay guys don't want to have meaningful sex or passionate sex. I think they're wrong as well. What do you think about
Yeah.
this?
No, I totally agree with you. I think that it really just depends on where you are in your life. Like right now, I don't think that
Right.
I could really establish a romantic connection with somebody just because of what I've been going through in my recent past. But I would like to have sex and I want to have fulfilling sex. So I think that going out and cruising is the way that I'm actually going to be able to accomplish that. Or if, friends with benefits, because like you said, you can make meaningful connections with those people. You can get to know them. You can start to care about them, all of those things just with friends with benefits or even a one off. You can talk to them. Everybody is people. We are all here to connect with one another, and I think that you can be a very fulfilling sexual encounter no matter what type of encounter it is. So, yeah, it just depends on
Yeah.
where you are.
And to the part where they said even non-penetrative sex can be really meaningful. I've had with the same guy I'm talking about penetrative sex that was really hot. It was missionary style.
Hmm.
I made him come. It was so amazing. But the last night when we got together, we were so passionately kissing in bed and it was like intense.
Hmm.
And I mean, we did some other sexual things, non penetrative, and it was like I've been thinking about him all day and how I want more of
Ooh.
that with him. And so I think there is a point that a lot of these guys are making sense to me that yearn for a deeper connection in a partner, and it can't happen with everybody obviously.
Yeah.
So I just think there's room for it all.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you. And yeah, that's it.
I love it. A little bit of health news. Speaking of sex, there is a pill after sex that could help slow STIs among gay men. And we all know that STIs have been on the rise in the last several years here in the US. And a growing number of physicians are prescribing a commonly used antibiotic as a way to prevent things like chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis infections in gay and bisexual men and transgender women. It's doxycycline. Is many of you, myself, have had some of this when I've had an STI in my
Hmm.
lifetime. it's a class of medications traditionally used to treat bacterial STIs after someone has been infected. Well, like I said, the recent research suggests that one 200 milligram dose of the drug can actually be effective in preventing such infections
Oh,
among men who
wow.
have sex with men if taken within 72 hours after unprotected sex. So, this approach is actually called DoxyPEP, and it's garnered a lot of attention here in the US by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and it's expected to post draft guidance for public comment in the next several weeks on how healthcare workers can deploy the preventative treatments, such as how many pills should go into a prescription or which people could benefit from the drug. And I'm assuming they're probably talking about things that maybe a milder dose, that because I'm sure taking too much antibiotics
Hmm.
is just, if people started doing that, that would be detrimental, I'm sure, in a different way. The number of syphilis cases in the US are currently at the highest level in over 50 years. So, according to a lot of doctors, we need new tools to prevent some of these STIs. And it looks like they're really hankering down to address what's really going on right now. I think this is really good
Hmm.
because we're not, in my mind, going backwards at this point. I know a lot of people say, gone are the days of, okay, you're on PrEP, Truvada, that you're going to use condoms. And I just think that argument for most men in general is not going to happen. So,
Yeah.
what do you do? I think this is realistic. We could tell people who were blue in the face, myself included, put a condom on so you don't get as many STIs if you're that much sexually active at a period of time. And myself, I'm not going to do it. It's just not going to happen. I know a lot of the partners I'm going to be with are not going to do that. So I like that the medical community is coming together to address this current need, because it could become a different epidemic if there's too much of STIs floating around. I don't
Yeah.
know. What do you think?
Oh, no, I hear you. I totally agree with you. And I do think that this is a realistic way to address the situation. I think that if you're going to a gangbang or something of that nature, which I fully plan on attending, then this can be a way for you to actually ensure that you do not get anything. But like you said, if you take too much, I wonder what the side effects will be if you start to become resistant to the antibiotics. So that part really worries me. So again, everything in moderation is how I feel. So
Yeah, well, and I think with this doxypap, it's not the full dosage.
oh,
So
okay.
they're saying I mean, I think it's in current studies to have an open dialogue amongst medical professionals on what this could actually do. And maybe it would be a situation, and I'm making this up, but maybe it would be a situation where your doctor would say, okay, what have you done recently? And then I'll prescribe this if it's been a certain period of time. The other thing I would also say, and I would include myself in this, I'm going this week it's a time to up my Truvada. I'm going to go on
Mhm.
vacation. So I'm hoping I can get September's month ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
But I think, at least as a reminder for myself, and I think if you are sexually active, my opinion, to get checked out a little bit more often than the 3 month mark. And I've been guilty of periods of time where I haven't been, and maybe could have benefited from more, whether it's monthly or every couple weeks. A lot of places have free clinics.
Yeah.
And I think if we all got checked out a lot quicker, another reasoning in my mind would be that we wouldn't spread as many STIs, because then you would immediately have it eradicated within you, and then you weren't passing it on within the
Yep.
community.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So everybody just get checked out as much as possible and make sure that you are doing your due diligence to protect not only yourself, but to protect other people as well. Because we are a community and we are here for one another. And if you want to be that cum dump, then you need to go out there and make sure that you're doing good. Okay.
Exactly. And we'll keep reporting back on the developments of this doxypap and let you guys know. Well, it is time to give some advice, and it comes from somebody wants advice, a listener. by the name of Adam. He wrote into us, which you can do too. You can simply go to TAGSPodcast.com and click on the contact link, or you can DM any of us on our Instagram pages, and we will give that at the end of the show. So they wrote, "Hey, Steve, sorry, the question, I won't read you the early part of it, but the question was, I've been gay since I jerked off with my best friend at the age of 12. That was
Mm.
about the age that I did the same thing too.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow. I'm a
I've
late bloomer.
just barely did that, but yeah. I've always loved looking at men, flirting with men, and all of the rest. I came out when I was 15 to parents who were extremely supportive, not much trauma there, no internalized homophobia. I had boyfriends in high school, college, and throughout my 20s. I'm very good at connecting. When I'm in a relationship and I feel a strong connection to a guy, arousal is never an issue. I can top, bottom, and side to completion. However, when I try to have a random hookup like all the other gays I know, I can't get hard. No matter how hot I think they are or how delicious their cocks taste, nothing happens downstairs unless I can get to know them for a few hours. I've tried to solve this by taking Viagra before going to a random hookup, but I always deflate after 10 minutes. I've tried the extreme, hoping the variety and exposure will solve the issue by attending fuck parties and wank parties, but I end up being the only guy who isn't stiff. I have no issues being naked around guys and never feel nervous in those scenarios. Actually, I love it. It seems like I need to have a crush on a guy to want them like that. While sex is
Mm.
great with people I know, I'm 29 and want to take advantage of the cruisier side of the gay community and have mindless fun. Also, I'm currently in an awesome, open 7-year relationship with a guy who doesn't have this issue and like to have threesomes with him. We've only had one successfully, and you guessed it, he's our friend. Am I the only gay with this issue? Am I just sapiosexual?
Mm.
That's where you are attracted to the brain, the intelligence of somebody else. Has anyone on the podcast had this experience? My gut tells me this issue is related to how I discovered my sexuality. Friends first, sex second. But I'd like
Oh,
to get
wow.
through this mental roadblock. Any advice would be really appreciated. Thank you. And again, I hope to hear your thoughts. Well, thanks, Adam, for writing in for and sharing this. You
Yeah.
know, at first thought, I want to say that congratulations on having this 7-year successful open relationship. I also think the other things to me, and we'll address what you want to talk about more, but I think it's really great that you have to get to know somebody for a minute. We were just talking about this
Mhm.
in the red, white, and royal blue and intimate sex. And I think I'm trying to read where he said how long he has to know somebody, but it's just a little bit. I think that at least you're able to have sex, and your issue doesn't sound like recommending erectile dysfunction medication because, as you said, it doesn't really work for you. I think the one thing is performance anxiety,
Mhm.
and that often can come by seeing a sex therapist. And there are plenty out there, and we live in a time right now where there's online uh, doctors, therapists that actually deal with that could get down to some of the root causes. They could maybe go down to like dig deeper for you and help you find those ways and give you the tools that you need. And I think that would be my first is seek out a therapist that deals with performance anxiety to help you through this. I think it's good news that you are able though to at least have sex with
Yeah.
after you know somebody with. So it's a problem where I think if you talk to your partner a little bit more and you invest in, you know, there's a lot of therapy out there. They'll give you the first time free. It's often cheaper. And that would be my first. Kodi, what did you think when you heard this issue with Adam?
Yeah, I thought that it was very similar to how I experience sex. For me personally, I do feel like I have to be comfortable in the situation. I don't necessarily have to know the person, but for me, it's about comfortability, feeling safe. So I don't think he's the only one out there that's like this, because the way that I have sex is very, very similar. I'm able to go out and cruise and go out and have random sex with people that I don't even know, but only if that I am in this, when I'm in the space and I kind of take stock of where I am and I'm able to feel like, I don't know, safe, like it's a safe space basically. So uh I don't see it as a problem, and
Me
I'm so,
either.
yeah. So I'm so glad that you said that, and I just think that it's something that he needs to really take a look at and figure out a way to, uh, overcome it. But I think the first place for him to start is for him to go see the sex therapist, because I don't see how this is really an issue. If you want to go out and have random sex, maybe something that you could try is, if you go out to that space with a friend, maybe take your friend and go out there and see if you can play with other people while your friend is there, that you would like to have, maybe the guy that you had the threesome with. So I
Oh,
really
that's a
think,
really good idea, Cody, because with that theory, if you did bring some friend that you're probably going to get turned on, Adam's going to
yeah,
get turned on with, and if it's like in an open environment, to see how he reacts under that. Like if
yeah,
somebody else starts, you know how like when you're in some of those play spaces, somebody else will come along, you might be
yeah,
fucking or
that's
getting
exactly what I was
fucked.
thinking.
Yeah, I mean, he checked all the right boxes. He's a top, he's a bottom, he's, verse, a side. He can, so to me, it's, and we hate to diminish that this is your issue, and I applaud you for wanting to be
Yeah.
more sex positive. It's interesting because I'll send you this article that I found, and we also had author Zachary Zane on the show with his brand new
Oh yeah,
book
love
Boy
Zachary.
Slut. You love Zachary, and he actually has the other issue which many men or people have, and it's the idea that once they start dating somebody and get really connected with somebody, they become less able to get sexually aroused. In other
Hmm.
words, they really only can have sex with more random hookups. So it's almost the opposite issue. And then when they become intimate with somebody, they lose that whole I able to become aroused. And I feel personally that I would rather have what Adam and you,
Me too.
Cody, because I think based on a lot of the other hot topics we were talking about, seems very thematic on this show, intimate sex and passionate sex. A lot of us are really searching for that. If you already have that portion covered, especially as a gay man, I that's where so many of us I think want to be able to end up. It's the opposite of what the other one. I think it would be harder to work on developing intimacy, although there's people like Finn Deerhart, who was a guest on our show, who's a sex and intimacy coach, that could really help you with the more intimacy side of it. So somebody more, if Zachary was looking for intimacy, that would be somebody too. You just need the other way to kind of have that fun, hot,
Or
anonymous sex.
yeah, or he could go to one of Finn's retreats and see how that enhanced his sexual experience, how it could even open up his eyes as far as what he is capable of and what he likes. I think the meat and the bones of what we're trying to say is that you should just try to explore as much as possible and talk to somebody about it, because the only way that you're going to be able to overcome this issue that you said yourself that you have is by going out there and doing things and experiencing sex and kind of processing it as well. So yeah, talk to a therapist.
Absolutely. So, again, to wrap up, our advice is seek out a sex therapist on this particular issue. I think they're going to help you deep dive into the performance anxiety that you have. And I think you'll probably have some success with that. Sounds like a problem that could be rectified. And the other thing is kind of what Kodi advised, which I love, and that is bring a friend that you already can get aroused with.
Use the buddy
To
system, baby.
use the buddy system. Bring them to a play space, a sexual play space, and have fun with them where people can view you, and then see if people come into the mix, if you can still try that way around it. So I think do both at the same time and see. It's kind of a fun experiment with yourself, and let us know, Adam. We want to hear back on what works, and I hope
we can be friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know. And thank you so much for writing in. And again, you can always ask us for sex or relationship advice. We love to weigh in on that. Again, go to TAGSPodcast.com, click on the link contact, and we are here for you. Kodi, so much fun.
Always
we held
so
down
much
the fort.
fun, babe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just the two of us.
We are live Wednesday night for Tags Live at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 o'clock Pacific. And the easiest way to get that link is to go to TAGSPodcast.com and click on Tags Live. And the direct link for the Wednesday's episode is there. Again, we want to see some of you in Mexico for the 2023 Vacaya Mexico Resort Vacation in Puerto Vallarta, October 29th through November 5th. Again, you can get up to $200 off. Use our promo code TAGS, TAGS at checkout. And the best way to get that link is to go to tagspodcast.com. Thanks, Kodi. You can follow him.
Thank you, babe.
He's a life coach at KMD Coaching on Instagram, or follow his personal account at Mr. Maurice on Instagram. Follow me. I am _Steve V on Instagram. And Kodi, in the meantime, continue having hot gay sex.